All right, guys, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So let's get right into it. In part one, right, I talked about the advantages of entrepreneurship. And if you didn't watch that video, go ahead and check it out yourself. So I talked about things like income potential, controlling your future, learning new skills, meeting new people, and using your business to create investment opportunities. But today we're going to talk about the other side. So let me be clear, I'm entrepreneurship has changed my life and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for everything it has done for me in my life. However, you know what? There are challenges that nobody really talks about on social media. A lot of people talk about all the glitz and glamour and how you're going to make this and going to make that, but nobody ever really discusses the other side of the coin. So, you know what? This is what we're going to talk about today. As a business owner, investor, and father, I've learned that entrepreneurship comes with risk, sacrifice, responsibilities, and a lot of pressure, especially doing it right here in the heart of New York City. So today, I'm going to share the biggest cons of entrepreneurship. I'm going to tell you how I personally deal with them, and I'm going to show you how I use investing to help build long-term financial security. So income is not guaranteed. Now, we all know that when you work a traditional job, you usually know what your check is going to be every week or every 2 weeks or whatever your payroll system is. Now, as an entrepreneur, that's not always the case. Some weeks, trust me, are going to be great. You're going to be hitting on all cylinders. And then there's going to be some weeks that are a little bit slow and you're going to start scratching your head like, damn. So I can give you some examples from me, actually. I usually get hit hard when there's like the New York City Marathon, Brooklyn Marathon, when there's like a Knick game or a Liberty game or the Giants are in town or something like that. Usually the roads are either closed or there's some kind of detour. I can even lose deliveries when there's an accident on the highway. So it can this series can go on and on and on. I mean, I can look at deliveries, moving jobs, maybe some my construction companies are closed, or maybe some of my repeat customers, they're low on staff and they have to close down business. So that's why, as a business owner, you cannot spend every dollar that you make. And I know some of you guys are always on the edge to spend, 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 but this is a part of entrepreneurship. You cannot spend every single dollar that you make. Your business income needs discipline because the next week may not look like the last week. And to tie it into me personally, this is one of the reasons why I invest on a consistent basis. You see, I want my money working for me even when I'm not working. The business produces income, but investing helps me build long-term worth outside the business. So next on my list, I'm sorry to say it, but you are responsible for everything. That's right. If you are an entrepreneur and you own your own company and you're self-employed, you are responsible for everything. So when something goes wrong, there is no one else to blame. You are customer service. You are the accountant. You do sales. You are marketing. You are the operations. You are the person who has to find the answer to just about everything. So let me give you some examples of what I go through. So let's say my truck breaks down. Guess what? I'm going to have to solve it. Now, I'm a pretty good driver. I take very good care of my vehicle. So I technically don't really have that issue. But when it's time to bring the car in for maintenance, I'm the person that's supposed to take it in. Let's look at another example. If a customer cancels, guess what? I have to replace that revenue. If a route changes or there's a detour or something like that, believe it or not, the delivery still has to get done. And then if a quote is wrong, a customer forgets to pay or is not paying me on time, my business, me, I'm the person that feels it the most. So I just gave you a brief walkthrough of some of the risks that I might face, but larger small businesses or small business owners who have a little bit more responsibility than I have might have to deal with a lot more risk than me. So you're definitely going to have to be careful with that. Now, it's very important that you do not have, one income stream, because even though they may pay you a lot or less, depending on the situation, if they go down, you're going to go down, which is why you have to protect yourself. And that's why I continue to invest into my investment portfolio, because when one person is down, I'm not going to let that take me down with them. So next up, stress and uncertainty. So one of the hardest parts about entrepreneurship is uncertainty. It's a little bit different than what I just talked about, but here you have to deal with economic changes, fuel prices, slow seasons, competition coming into town, customers changing plans, and technology. The technology that's changing how people do business. For example, we all know about the war that's happening in Iran. And we know about the economic impact, not just myself, but the country has taken due to inflated fuel prices. Now, again, I work in transportation. So, the cost of gas is actually one of my biggest expenses. Gas, the Easy Pass, and some other stuff here and there. So this kind of hit me hard, right? So on one side, my frequent paying customers wanted to pay me less because they couldn't afford the increase in inflation with the fuel prices. And then on the other side, when I would send my invoices to my customers, I had to charge them a little bit more because the cost of fuel went up. Now, when you look at both sides of the fence, who's the winner, who's the loser? At the end of the day, it's kind of like an even split. I'm getting paid a little bit less because of the fuel situation. And then on the other hand, some of my frequent customers, I actually have to charge them a little bit more. And I know they weren't happy about that one. As an entrepreneur, you're going to have to learn, and you're definitely going to have to learn to adapt. Now, for a lot of us, many of us are set in our ways. Trust me, I know how some of you guys are. Some of you guys, it's a very difficult thing to do, but you got to use it as a superpower. So in today's world, right, we got to deal with the rise of AI, automation. There's so many digital platforms, higher cost for everything. And our customers expect really, really fast service. Sometimes we can't give that to them, but other times we're just going to have to work our asses off to do it anyway. Now, I'm experienced. I already know that the future is uncertain. But what I do is I try to control what I can control. I can control my expenses. I can control my cash reserves, my debt, my investments, and my discipline. But one thing I cannot control, no entrepreneur can control the economy, but we can control how we prepare. Okay. All right, let's talk about the benefits. Well, guess what? There are no benefits. See, when you work for yourself, you have to create your own safety net. That's right. There is no automatic retirement. You're not going to get paid for any vacation. There's no sick time, and there's no company benefits unless you build those systems by yourself. To my fellow business owners, here's a great piece of advice. As a business owner, you're going to have to think like both the employee and the employer. You're going to have to tighten up your emergency funds. You're going to have to be consistent and contribute to your retirement. Your health coverage and time off are going to need planning as well. You see, I have a pretty good system. I have enough emergency money, or at least I call it enough emergency money, it locked up in a high yield savings account. I have money locked up into a CD. And then I also max out my IRA, my traditional IRA as well. And if you're not familiar with any one of those terms, that's perfectly fine. I'm not a financial advisor at all. I'm sure there's plenty of information that you guys can find online pertaining to a high yield savings account, a CD, and IRA. So please do your research and make sure you guys have that stuff as well. See, your lack of benefits should be one of the biggest reasons why you should invest every month like I do. The issue here is that nobody is going to build your retirement for you. I personally use my business income wisely so that I can create my own long-term security. I know many of you are just hungry to start your own business, jump into entrepreneurship. And I think that's great because entrepreneurs have something in common. We all have that grit and that spirit. But before you jump into it, I want you guys to understand a few different things. Do not confuse revenue with profit. Keep an emergency fund for both life and business. Track your expenses, especially with fuel, maintenance, tolls, insurance, supplies, and taxes. Avoid lifestyle inflations when business is good. You have to price your work properly and do not be afraid to charge for the value that you provide. Invest consistently like I do, but do not invest money you need for short-term business. Build relationships and repeat customers. You can feel free to use social media to show proof of work and build trust. I'm sure all of us are a part of that. And stay flexible because with the influx of technology, customer habits, and the economy, those things are going to continue to change. All right, guys, let's go ahead and let's just wrap this thing up. And speaking from the heart, I just want to say, entrepreneurship is not easy. There will be setbacks. There will be stress. Trust me, there will be stress. There will be moments when you question yourself. But if you are willing to stay disciplined keep learning, and manage your money wisely and invest in the future, then entrepreneurship can become a very powerful vehicle for both the life that you want to create and the life that you want to create for your family. For me personally, my business is not just about making deliveries. It's about creating cash flow that allows me to invest, build wealth, support my family, and create more opportunities for the future. I want to strongly thank you for watching part 2 of this series. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to Mr. Hunterline. I'm trying to build this channel. I got a lot to talk about. And let me know in the comments what challenges that you have while facing entrepreneurship, or what are some things that you might be worried about as that opportunity comes to you. All right, guys, till next time. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.